In meditation, there's one rule, right? It's like you just got to focus on your breath. It's like it's a hard rule. It's not ambiguous. It's not kind of like you're allowed to deviate. You just focus on your breath.
Sometimes it's about more than manifesting. You got to do the work. Welcome to the Keep It Uplifting podcast, where we discuss lifestyle, fitness, and motivation. I'm your host, Uplifting, and I have with me the man behind the camera. And today we have the honor of having the guest on, Simon. Say hello to the listeners.
Hello, thank you. Thanks a lot for having me. It's an honor. I'm a big fan of your TikTok and podcast. It's great to be here.
Thank you. So Simon wanted to come on today because he listened to the episode, I believe, about
Yeah,
sustaining excellence, and he wanted to give us some real deep insight on habit reframing.
yeah,
Am I correct? So could you
yeah.
tell us a little bit about habit reframing?
Sure. So I have I'm a personal development writer, and I have a method that I've condensed into a package deal called the habit reframe method, right? And the core of it, the gist of it is, if you want to break bad habits, if you want to stop procrastinating, if you want to start good habits and have a good lifestyle and all that, your focus should be on what I call manipulating desires,
Right.
right? So the conventional notion, the what people usually kind of assume is like, yeah, if I want to break a bad habit, I have to work on my willpower, my self-control. I have to be able to get over these temptations that barrage me all day long.
Right.
The method takes a different approach, where we say, you know what, your willpower is your willpower. It's some days it's good, some days it's bad. What you should be actually doing over the long term is manipulating your desires, which means you want to reduce your desires you have for your particular vice. You want to
Okay.
come to a point where one day you're kind of like, you know what, I see my phone there, I see that snack, but like I'm good. I don't actually really want it that bad. It's easy for me to say no, right?
So how? Just a quick question: how is habit reframing uh, different from just paying attention to the cues that get you into your habits, or is that a part of it?
That's a part of it. I kind of see that as more like a micro way to manage your habits. So like in the moment, you want to pay attention to your cues, you want to use mindfulness, you want to get to know your biology and your urges and all that. That's
Right.
like on a very like individual scale, like on
Okay.
an instant scale. You also want to be thinking about the long term. You don't want to have to, every single time you have a temptation or you have to do some work, you're just like dogged all day long by these urges and temptations. You want to be able to focus, right?
Right.
So to get to that point, you gotta to manipulate your desires. You have to
Uh,
come to a place where you're not going to be dogged all day long by your phone. You're just going to be able to focus.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the first step in this process? Because in the email you sent, you spoke about meditation, you s- uh, meditation, and I can't recall, but there was another method that you had listed in the
Yeah.
email as well.
So, okay, that's a good question. So I didn't actually say you need to meditate.
Okay.
You're close. You're close though.
Okay.
I call it take on the meditator's mindset.
Oh,
Oh,
right,
okay.
right. Okay,
Okay.
that's what it was.
So
Okay.
there's a little nuance there. So I mean, meditation is good. Nothing against it, or I'm not pushing that. And I find that like people are like, oh, if you want to increase your willpower, meditate, but like that takes willpower to do. So it's kind of like a catch 22. But
Okay.
anyways, my perspective is that you can learn a lot from the practice of meditation and use that as an analogy for your development, right?
Okay.
So let me explain it. In meditation, there's one rule, right? It's like you just got to focus on your breath. It's like it's a hard rule. It's not ambiguous. It's not kind of like you're allowed to deviate. You just focus on your breath. But in meditation, there's an unwritten rule that your brain's going to do what it wants. It's going to think about your grocery list. It's going to think about the person that insulted you yesterday, or whatever, cut you off in traffic. That's completely normal. So there's an unwritten rule of meditation where it's actually okay to deviate.
Okay.
So and in meditation, that's normal, right? You kind of like that you have the hard rule and you have the unspoken rule, right? So And a big part of meditation is something called self-compassion, whereas if you deviate,
Mm-hmm.
you're not supposed to just get mad at yourself. You're supposed to be like, that's my brain doing its thing. I'm just going to take my focus from over here and bring it back to the breath. It's like a
Okay.
gentle. So you use that as an analogy in how you live your life, right? Where you
Mm-hmm.
have your hard rules. You have, I'm going to do this thing. It's not ambiguous. It's not, general. It's like, I'm going to do this and that, and I'm not going to do that. But you have to expect yourself that you're going to deviate. You have to understand you have your biology. It's
Uh-huh.
far from imperfect.
Yes.
And it's not about what you do to get off track. It's about what you do to get back on track. That's 1,000 times more important. Because
Right.
everybody is so obsessed with like, how do I stay on this path? But then they're good for a while, and things start to tumble. And then it's the end of the world, and they get hard on themselves, and they binge, and they just take on that meditators mindset where it's like you have to bake in your self-improvement path the
Mm-hmm.
idea that you're gonna deviate. It's
Okay.
not a linear process where you kind of get better and better slowly. It's an iterative process, right?
Have you tried multiple things and kind of worked your way into this, and maybe you worked through some processes yourself? Like, is there a backstory to how you came up with this habit reframe method?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's one of those kind of trial and error type of things over a decade of my entire 20s. I had depression. I couldn't study. I was the quintessential procrastinator. Like I always say, I'm a procrastinator and not a slacker. Like a slacker just doesn't give a shit, right? Just whatever. I'm gonna smoke weed all day. I don't give a shit. Like I'm just gonna, like I care to the point of anxiety, and yet I kept procrastinating.
Okay.
And I get so hard on myself, and it really left a lot of scarring on my mental health. But then at some point I was like, you know what, let me start to look at unconventional pieces of writing. I got into like sober memoirs. So people used to drink. And I got into this one particular book called The Easy Way to Quit Smoking. So all these like weird kind of like not into the personal development jar, just to get a different perspective on actual harder, traditional addictions, just to understand what the hell is actually going on. Because a
Okay.
lot of these people, they would come to the perspective that it's like, it's not me that's the problem, it's the vice. And if that's the reframe that I every single person that I talk to, that I coach or whatever, you have to not see it as the problem is you, that it's the problem is the vice. And that's like, if you want to know how to decrease desire for your vice, it's like pin bad things with the vice, and you're going to be like, man, that vice feels good for a second, but it's going to lead to this and that bad feeling, that consequence.
That's an interesting backstory though, because you basically, it seems like you researched people that had the strongest habits. Like, I mean, drugs. It's a drug, nicotine,
Yeah,
alcohol, and they're hard. Those are harder to kick because they're legal drugs, right?
yeah,
So
exactly.
those memoirs you read about people sobering up, and then you came up with this habit reframe method. But I'm really interested in what you said, that you can eliminate procrastination. Because, like, even though probably I suffer from procrastination all the time, right? My issue is basically, though, I think I'm so great at getting things done that it takes less time to do it, right? But then I'm just putting so much stress on my brain. So how do you have it reframed to eliminate the procrastination?
It's a good question. I think my answer is going to be kind of more of an indirect one,
Okay.
where it's less about, here's the magic formula that beats procrastination, which I don't particularly think exists.
Okay.
It's more about procrastinating and then learning why you procrastinated and putting in certain tools, processes, systems to prevent it from happening again. Like my number one motto is, don't get mad, get data.
Okay.
Right. So when you fuck up, when you procrastinate, when whatever it is, take a moment to just allow for some self-compassion, be like, that's my biology doing its thing, whatever. It's when I procrastinate, there's very good reasons. Let me understand what happened. Let me see what I can do to put in place something that's going to prevent it. So that could, for me, for example, when I start a work session, I'm very diligent. I have a very organized way of writing all my projects out. And then I say I have a 4-hour window, I'm going to do this and then this. But that complicated method that I organize my time, like it came about just through like dozens of iterations of trying something, things slipped at a certain point. Okay, at that point, I need to insert this little procedure. Like I can show you my method right now, my productivity method, but it's like hyper tuned to me.
Right.
Like I've done that before. I've had seminars where I spoke for like an hour, like, okay, then you're gonna do this, you're gonna have this notation, this and that. People like look at me like that, like dumbfounded, like, what the hell is the guy talking about? That's just because that's what works for me. That only came through like countless trial and error.
So someone has a habit that they're trying to reframe. What exactly would you say to them? Because there's so many different methods of I've read the Eat That Frog where it talks about listing out your day and just getting right to it. Some people just say don't even think, just take action. You don't really need a routine, you just need to get to work. So what exactly is different with your methods that help your clients as opposed to others?
Okay, so my number one priority are my biggest focus is what I focus on vices, right? Because I have this theory that, I mean, I'm starting to see it, kind of play out on other people, where a lot of what I call resistance, this like, oh, I don't feel like it sensation, that lack of motivation, it comes from an overindulgence in your vices, right? Because when you tell your brain, oh, I just had a ton of calories, and then I was on social media, so I was with high status people, and you have some porn, and then you have some watching TV. You're overstimulating yourself. You're telling your brain, you know what? I'm surviving really, really well. I just had all these calories. I'm with high status people. You're tricking your brain into believing that just now you must have expended all kinds of energy. You must have taken all these risks because you would never have gotten those rewards otherwise. Your brain doesn't know that it's all fake, that it's all a screen, it's all processed food or whatever. Right. So what happens is your brain's like, bro, like you just spent all this energy. You need to chill. Why are you nagging at me to do write an essay right now or work on my business or whatever? I'm going to make you want to just chill, right? So the number one most important thing is to just create a little space between, when you ask yourself to do 100 things and when you quit your vices, right? I think one of the common things is like, if you want to break a bad habit, make sure you replace it with a good habit.
Right.
For some people that works. I mean, I don't like to knock on other processes, but like for a lot of people that doesn't, that puts a lot of pressure on themselves, and then they get overwhelmed, and then they go back to their old ways. So for me, it's like, step number one, take your foot off the gas, like just put in some web blockers, throw the crap in your fridge and the garbage, clear your pantry, take a day or two, just be for like a minute. Right. And then you can start to piece in some of the good habits. Maybe you can do a little walk, and then the next day you can go for a jog. It's like, for me, it's like cold turkey on your vices and gradual up on your habits. That's kind of my differentiator.
That's interesting what you mentioned though. Keyword overstimulation. I think a lot of people don't understand that what they're doing to themselves with the TV watching, with especially the social media. Mm-hmm. And nobody really attacks that. Do you attack that much? Do you attack that much?
It's what I live and breathe. I'm actually in the process of writing a book, and I have literally the first third of it is all talking about vices, and because vices, we all know they waste time, whatever, but there's like a lot of like underlying issues with them. It's like a poison drip, right? You don't notice what's happening, but it's unreal, and it's
No, I think you might be hitting the head on the nail, because a lot of people don't even understand. Like, I mean, I didn't just have a son. My son's 4, but one thing that I had to learn with him, even from raising babies, they say when he's too young, you don't want to like take him to the mall or take them to a park with a lot of people, because their minds are overstimulated. They don't know how to react. So you're saying as adults, we're doing the same thing, but we're doing it to ourselves. And once we cut that out, we can start the habit reform. Is that what you're saying?
It's a slow process, but absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. If you just create a bit of space, if you let your you give your brain a rest from just this hyper stimulation.
Mhm.
And it's like, you can almost like, like allow yourself to be bored for a little bit.
Right.
Like maybe one day you're going to be so bored that you're going to be like, let me pick up my art, my pen and start writing. Let me pick up my guitar, pick it. Like, stop trying to use willpower all the time. Use space. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let your brain have room to think of other things, maybe think of healthy things. Like a lot of people have a TV in every room of their house. I mean, me and Uplifting talk about it all the time that we don't have cable.
Right.
And that and it does make us do other things. I stopped playing video games 2005,
right. But just quitting cold turkey, I question that from a standpoint of a lot of people quit things cold turkey, right? Yeah. So you do create another habit that seems to override your original habit, right? Because you quit what you were doing, you quit your vice, and then obviously you fill that space with something else. But a lot of people do that, and I mean that's why they end up back in AA. That's why they end up back in relapsing and just falling back into a bad space. So that seems to be extremely difficult, because if it was easy, everyone would do it. So how do you coach people from that and walk them through it so slowly? Could you give just a little bit of information on that?
Absolutely. I mean, one part of it is, we spoke about earlier, is that meditators mindset, right? Where you need to like make it very clear what you intend on doing.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have to go all the way to zero. I mean, everyone needs to use their phone, or you're not going to throw it in a river.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, make it super clear what you really should. Not. But no, for real. But like, you need to like just establish what base you want to hit, and then aim for that. But then expect yourself to deviate.
Okay.
And your process should be not just how to not deviate, but when I deviate, how do I get back? So that's like that's like step one. And
okay.
The other part is the flip side is to like understand how to properly moderate, and I call them like rare and circumstantials. So it's like, where can you, like, if I want to watch a little bit of TV still, like, how can I make sure it's rare? Okay, well, for me, it's like, I need to be with my girlfriend. It needs to be like an evening, and we're just have like 1 or 2 episodes to watch. So it's like contained. I'm not fully barring myself from entertainment. I'm just like, that's what I'm going to do. Like all our vices, our phone, our apps, they're good forms of entertainment. The problem is when we consume them for reasons for which they were not intended. The problem is when we're feeling stressed, and TikTok, we go on it, and then we're all of a sudden distracted from that bad feeling.
That's but don't you think that's the underlying creation in those applications?
Oh yeah, for sure. Right. That's why they become mammoths. But at the end of the day,
so that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like a TikTok, social media, is almost as addictive as sugar, which is more addictive than any drug on the planet. So when you're like you said, you're talking about like being able to intentionally have a way of working away from it slowly, but understanding that there will be pitfalls along the way. But how do you, I guess through attachment is what you were saying for you, right? Like, you attach your leisure to the time with your girlfriend, right? Yeah. So but what if someone doesn't have a girlfriend or have something to attach those leisurely?
Exactly. And that's why I say there's no like one size fits all.
Okay.
And that's why I really insist on this idea of don't get mad, get data. Right.
Okay.
So let's stick with TikTok as that example.
I love that.
Yeah. So let's stick with TikTok. You can be like, okay, well, you know what? I hear Simon talking about going cold turkey and everything. But for me, it's too much. I want to just like get like an hour in per day or something like that. So then that's your aim. But then you try for that. And then maybe it's last 2 days and then you fail. And then why did I fail? What was it? Oh, I was stressed at my work. Okay, well, maybe the problem is not the vice. The problem is the stress at work. Can I fix that? Can I go to, or maybe, you know what? Like, maybe I have to just be like over my morning coffee. Let me just like put it over this like concrete thing. As soon as my coffee's done, then I put my phone away and that's it for the day. You try that. Maybe that doesn't work. Oh, maybe like I can put in on screen time. I can have like a limit that stops me at a certain time. Like all these things, you're not going to know off the bat,
Okay.
but it's about that iteration. It's about allowing yourself to discover yourself, because what's going to happen in all likeliness, you're going to have 10 iterations. You're going to be like, I don't need TikTok. It's just causing all these problems, all the stress. I'm not stopping TikTok because I think I should do it. I have a mountain of data that says this shit ain't for me. It's not helping me in my life. It's the data that's talking. It's not the self-help guy. The data is talking. I'm done. And I don't really need it anymore.
You know what? I like it, man, because your method almost sounds like basically root cause analysis. You know, I mean, that's what people do in business all the time. You know, the end result is not selling a product, but then you realize, the supply chain was broken here. Oh, we got a bottleneck here. Oh, it didn't come in on time. You know, so you're talking about people just being stressed and having bad habits, and then when you do deviate, you're supposed to write it down or get the data of why you deviated, and now you can understand basically why you have the bad habit in the first place.
That's it.
Is that what I'm hearing?
You got to go upstream with the problem.
Right.
Everyone's like, I got to focus on willpower. That's the last little instance, the last thing right before you indulge is that willpower. Go upstream. And I'm talking about, like, you can even go up to your childhood. You can even understand as a child.
I mean, your method gonna make you. It's gonna make you circle back. I think that's what you were getting at.
How do you keep
and
track?
it makes you look inward.
1000%. Exactly.
What system do you provide as far as keeping data? Is it journaling? Is it an Excel spreadsheet? Like how are you instructing your clients? And if I'm asking you for too much information, you could always say, but what also are you accepting new clients? How do people reach you?
Right now, I'm phasing out my one-on-one because I want to focus on the writing, but I do have in the works and that comes to your question. I do have kind of like a gamification type of course where a lot of it is getting systematic with the way you record your data.
Okay.
Right. Because before, if I was going to answer your question a month ago or last year, it was kind of like, well, everyone kind of does their own thing, or a lot of it's just like mental. I mean, you can't be like a guy trying to solve procrastination on people and then give them a shit ton of homework.
Right.
Be like, you have to like write a journal, like that doesn't work, right? Like everyone buys these self-help books, and at the end of each chapter there's like 100 exercises. Like no one actually does that shit, right? So I recognize that. So I can't over give homework, but I do want to. This is what I'm figuring out, is just that like least amount that prompts you in just the right way, that you kind of feel like doing it. That's what I'm kind of figuring out. But just like on a more general basis, to answer your question, it's the same thing where you got to find what works for you. Some people it's going to be a daily journal. Some people it's going to be something more organized, an Excel spreadsheet. You can get like you can join a group. I run these cohort things where it's just literally every week. You write what your sticking points were. You reflect on your week. You make your plans for the week coming ahead. It could be something like that. You just gotta find something that works for you.
Okay. So you have like a Discord or so you have a Discord that you have open for people. Okay.
Yeah, it's every couple months we start it. Yeah.
And do you have a team, or is it just you?
I have a partner. We have a guy. I'm like more of the face of the brand, and I got a guy kind of doing more of the tech stuff.
Nice. How did you so you said you went through your own rejuvenation, regeneration of sorts, right? So how did you think that you wanted to help people through what you went through? Like what was that process?
It's funny. The origin of that, I mean, I've been into self-help forever.
Okay.
And it must have been like 2007 when I read like the 4-hour work week, back in the day, just like, okay, you know what, man, like I have this interest and I want to bring it out to the world. But back then I was much more of a mess. It's just been in the last 5 years that this method has really like congealed. And it honestly kind of happened semi by accident, where I would always, like, for years I would like put a YouTube video up and then get 5 views and then take it down, or start a blog and nothing happened. And then by happenstance, someone on Reddit, on a personal development subreddit, posted, I have procrastination, I can't figure shit out. And then I was just like, you know what, I have like 40,000 words in my like thing. I'm just like dump this, like patch together this method, put it on there on this, like as a reply, as a comment. And yeah, it took like 3 comments to fit it all in because of character limits.
Yeah.
But like, 40 people were like, yo, this is dope. Like, where did you, like, this is different. Like, you're not talking about like the stuff you get off self-help shelves. Like, this is
Right.
like a fresh perspective. So from there, I just like I got that initial validation, and I put it together in a nice like PDF. And since then, I've been just writing. I still use Reddit as my blogging platform.
Okay.
It's like an untapped gem if in terms of like, just especially if you're starting out. Like, a good article of mine can get like 400 emails just like from just like, a simple article.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I've been doing for the past while, and I'm just getting these clients, and it's been an interesting ride so far.
So we've discussed a lot of mental, and we're kind of light on that ourselves as far as talking about the physical here. But are there any physical things that you recommend to your clients along the process, as well as, maybe not bodybuilding, but getting into the gym, or maybe changing their diets, or just getting a little bit more active to kind of clear the fog in the mind?
That's a good question. So I mean, I don't have like a specific kind of routine to follow. Like, I'm not. I think that'd be out of scope type of thing to be like, oh, you got to do this particular diet.
Right.
I push for that sort of thing. For me, it's kind of like everyone has their ideal diet, their ideal workout regimen, their ideal
Mhm.
meditation regimen,
Mhm.
but they're not doing it. Right. So I'm not about what you should do. I'm about how you get yourself to do that consistently.
Okay.
That's why
Okay.
for me, like whether you're a vegan or keto, whatever, the things that actually work are the things that you stick with, without taking the exaggerated cases. But like
Yes.
at the end of the day, it's consistency is what's important, right?
Yes.
So, if that's your problem, the diet isn't the problem. The problem is you being consistent. So that's more of my focus.
No, I love that. I kind of walked you into that. But no, but I think about, you said you started in 2007, and then you say for the
Yeah.
last 5 years, and you constantly talk about progressing and being consistent in what you're doing, right? Like you said, you're a big self-help guy.
Yeah.
So that led you into some form of personal development, and then you said you started a couple of things here and there, and then when something actually clicked
Yeah.
with Reddit, you stayed with it, and now it's grown. It's by happenstance, it's grown you into the space that you're currently
Absolutely.
in. So I think that's beautiful, man. You have anything?
Oh man, very dope, man. You said you're in the process of writing a book. Is not
That's correct.
completed yet? Okay.
No, it's completed. I got an editor. She's just going through some things.
Okay.
I'm expecting it. I'm gonna self-publish it in hopefully early summer,
All right,
Well,
man.
if not
Man,
midsummer.
definitely sounds interesting, man. I think
Yeah.
you definitely kind of you hit the nail on the head, man. You definitely said some key words, and that's what you're attacking. So yeah, like they responded to you on Reddit, man. You came up with a different type of process that can clearly kind of work for everybody, honestly. You
Yeah.
know, because we all, I mean, as human beings, man, we get off our path, and like you even said, we're not looking at it linear because life isn't linear, man.
100%.
People got to realize we think in ciphers, we think in circles, man. The world is round, so everything that moves in it is round. So
Exactly. You got to bake that into your system.
most
You
definitely.
gotta expect it. Yeah.
So Simon, any last words for someone who's going to listen to this and not look at the show notes to where we're going to add in all the links to get in contact with you?
Yeah. The best thing to do is just go to habitreframe.com. So habit
Okay.
reframe, two words, no hyphens or anything. Yeah. And then you'll get the PDF of the habit reframe method in its entirety.
Okay.
And you can connect with me through there. You'll also get some articles, and it's, lots of great free content there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it.
All right. Is there any other way to contact you? Will you give us the Reddit information and maybe an Instagram page or TikTok page to
Yeah.
follow you,
So
connect
you know
with you?
what? Like all that social media stuff,
Is on Habit Reframe.
it's on Reddit. I'm
Okay.
fully like that's my blogging platform. That's where
Okay.
I connect with people. Yeah, the best way on, but the best way honestly is if you get the method, it's all my
Yes.
information's in there. Like
Nice.
you'll get at the end. It's not a problem.
Okay. Well, Simon, want to thank you for coming on. We actually want to bring you back when you roll out your book. If you want to
Yeah,
join us again, it would be
100%,
awesome. Be awesome.
100%.
And just really appreciate you for coming on the show. I want to thank the listeners for listening, and be sure to check out Simon, and welcome if you get a chance to look at this episode. The man on the camera is fully on the camera now. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Keep it uplifting.